New York State is investing $20 million to help fight hate and violence against Asian communities. Recent data from the organization Stop AAPI Hate found there were nearly 11,000 hate incidences reported between March of 2020 and December of 2021. New York ranked number 2 for most reported cases among states, accounting for more than 15%. For more on this, I want to bring in New York State Senator John Liu and Anita Gundanna, co-executive director for the Coalition for Asian American Children and Families. Welcome. It's good to have you both. Senator Liu, let me start with you. Has there been an investment like this before in New York?
There actually has not been, believe it or not. It's hard to believe that with such a robust Asian American community in the state of New York, that not until now have we had such a significant amount of state funding for Asian American communities, funded primarily through our community-based organizations. And I would argue that it is this lack of investment or attention to the needs of the AAPI community for so long that has made many people in our communities more vulnerable to the anti-Asian hate that we have all seen these last couple of years.
So let's dig into that a bit more. Anita, your organization is one of dozens that advocated for this money. What are those most critical needs of the AAPI community that need to be addressed right now?
Yeah, well, you know, as Senator Liu said, for far too long, we have been fighting this myth of the model minority, which really erases a lot of the struggle that our communities face. And that has now been exacerbated by the rise in anti-Asian hate and violence, and also disproportionate impacts of COVID-19 on our community that have not been really revealed to the public. But when we look at the data, and something that CACF is always arguing for is the need for better data for our communities, for disaggregated data on our communities, so we can really understand what's going on. But we did see when we did our own analyses that COVID-19 we had high levels of death among the Chinese American community. We had high levels of hospitalizations in the South Asian community. And this is only seen through our partners. Our struggles are very deep in our community. We suffer from poverty, from limited English proficiency, from immigration-related challenges. There's a lot of issues that impact our communities that need to be recognized, and now can be, and it's the start of recognizing our needs by New York State with this investment.
Senator Liu, this topic is something that we have talked about a lot here on CBS News Streaming and across really our network, because there has been this increase in the number of crimes against members of the AAPI community, and that has raised awareness of the issue, but it doesn't seem to actually have changed this kind of pattern that we continue to see. Why do you think we keep seeing attacks happen despite more attention, more visibility being brought to it?
Well, first of all, thanks to CBS for continuing to cover this important issue. And it's this coverage that raises awareness of the struggles that the AAPI community continues to endure. Now, there is a little bit of time where before government policies and budgetary resources can kick into action. So we're finally putting together the budgetary resources in response to the anti-Asian hate. We've also got additional laws and government policies. We're also embarking on education, public school curricula that help people understand the AAPI community better. Anita talked about the model minority. You know, on the one hand, Asian Americans are perceived as the model minority. We're all rich, we're all smart, we're all doing well, we don't need anything. And then on the other hand, we're perceived as this perpetual foreigner where, you know, we're not real Americans, or even sometimes it feels like people don't think Asian Americans are even real people, which is evidenced in the viciousness with which some of these attacks have been carried out. And there's now a new anti-Asian slur. It's not just the C word, it's not just the G word. There is now the word carrier, which is a slur that we consider being hurled against us because our former president continuously and unabatedly called the COVID-19 the China virus or the Kung flu, therefore scapegoating Asian Americans along the way. So there are lots of challenges that we have certainly picked up on that I'm gratified to see that fellow New Yorkers, fellow Americans are understanding more of. But it does take a little bit of time for government to catch up to the problems. And we're starting to see the fruits of those efforts now.
Well, Anita, you've said this money will help with the implementation of a statewide AAPI curriculum in public schools. How do you think a lack of education on this particular topic drives hate against the Asian community? And how much have you seen education reduce harm and violence?
Well, listen, this is an investment in the long-term solutions that we're thinking about here, and we really believe that safe AAPI communities are communities that are healthy, cared for, and most importantly, understood. And that does start at a very young age in schools. And we really want to see that not only are people understanding the rich history of our AAPI community in this country and that we belong here, as Senator Liu said, that we're part of the fabric of this country. But we also believe that bringing AAPI curriculum to school builds strong identities and strong communities within our AAPI young people and allows them to explore their own identity and communities and relate to the curriculum that's taught to them and really be considered and feel a part of their school communities and the communities at large that they live in.
Senator Liu, I wonder what else it is that you'd like to see from the state government, because as I understand it, community groups and organizations had initially asked for some $64 million in investment to tackle this issue, and the amount the state is pledging is significantly less, $20 million. What additional kind of steps would you like to see taken now by the New York government?
So to address the spate of anti-Asian violence and hate crimes, there are a host of strategies that government, whether it be in New York State or in other states across the country, can adopt. We need to hold attackers accountable for their actions. We need to provide resources for mentally ill and sometimes the homeless, which have been some of the attackers against Asian Americans. We also do need these budgetary resources for our community-based organizations. That's the topic of what we're focused on right now. And long-term, there needs to be that education that Anita talked about, helping fellow Americans, fellow New Yorkers understand what the Asian American experience has been about. That is really, in my opinion, the true approach towards eradicating anti-Asian hate long-term. Hate comes from fear and ignorance. And the only way to address at least the ignorance part of that is through education and teaching our young people about how Asian Americans have been a part of America for coming up on 200 years, that we've been a part of the growth and development of this great nation, and that we are people and Americans like anybody else, not the perpetual foreigner, and certainly not the model minority.
Anita, where do you think the fight against Asian hate goes from here?
Well, we are committed as a community, and what is special about our coalition right now is that we're really united, and racism is not new to our communities. We've experienced Asian American, Pacific Islander communities have experienced racism and racial violence for a very long time. And so we are here and we are continuing to fight. We really, truly hope that the dollars that the state is investing in our community will be directed as our communities would like to see directed. Really, our community organizations know best what our communities need right now to recover and heal, and not only recover and heal, but thrive. And so we look forward to continuing to ask the state for increased investments in our community and for our community to be also leading how those investments are spent and how those dollars come to our community, because we truly believe that the knowledge resides in our community about how we can move forward together and really be, better as an AAPI community, safer and healthier, and really that applies to all New York.
State Senator John Liu and Anita Gundanna, I'm really glad to have had the chance to talk to you both. Thank you.
Thank you so much.